Okay, let's look at working with two clips. Let's look at adding some video effects and some transitions. And let's work at moving the clips around the timeline and working with the razor tool. So I'm back in my Premiere project. And last week what we had done was we had learned how to change the speed of a clip, how to create a freeze frame, and how to reverse this, the clip. I'm going to just throw all this away by clicking on it and hitting the delete key. And I'll just grab two other clips and drag them and place them on the timeline. And I'm going to just set them right next to each other. So the first thing is that I can just scrub through my clip. And if I wanted to cut this into smaller sections, I could. I just grab that razor tool and I click and it slices it at that point. And then what I can do is I can move this to another place. So I grab my move tool and I click and drag this up and then drag this over. I can transition from this to this. And then I can grab that razor tool, click again, grab my move tool, move this over, drag this and drop it inside. And I can cut on the timeline with that razor tool. And then I just grab the selection tool and move those pieces back and forth and drop them in between one another. And that's something that you do a lot when editing. Another thing you can do is take a clip, put it on top of a clip like this, and the way it works is you're only going to see what's on the top. But what I can do is punch holes through this top clip with the razor, and then delete every other little piece, and then it's going to transition from one to the other like so. So I can do things like that. So I can do these various types of edits. I'm going to undo that, step back, put it back here. Now, the other thing I can do is apply effects to a clip. I'm going to click on one of the clips, and when I click on the clip, I come up to the source, and if I double click, it'll play the source on the timeline up in the source box. But instead of playing the source in the timeline, I want to go to effect controls. So under effect controls, when I click on the clip, I can do things like adjust the motion, the position, and the scale of the clip. We'll do that when we work with some graphics. I can rotate the clip. I can do other things. And then I can also modify, in this case, the clip has got audio. I can also modify the audio. We'll get to audio in one of the other sections. But what I want to do now is just create a simple fade in, right? So lots of times when you have a film or a project, you may start with a fade in. So I want to apply a fade in to this clip. So I grab my scrubber and I'll set it at the beginning of the clip, and I will go to opacity, and you'll see that there's a little stopwatch there. And this scrubber here relates to this scrubber here. If I grab that, the time, the 100%, I drag that to the left until it's 0, you'll see that I've taken that clip and I've made it black. I've lowered the opacity to invisible. I'll drag it over a few frames and then just drag it back up, and I've got a fade in. And you'll see that ramp on the timeline. So I can do this on the timeline, or I can also do it up here under effects controls. So now I've got a fade in like so. And then I can also fade out. If I wanted to fade out at the end, I would go to the end. Actually, it's easier to go to the very end. Let's say I wanted to fade out the end of this clip, and then drag that to 0 once again, then come in and drag it back up to 100. And now I've got the clip fading in and fading out. So let's say I don't want it to fade out. I can click on that little keyframe there and hit delete, and I've taken that element off. And so now I've just got a fade in. And so that's something that you do a lot, is a fade in. Now, so I can add additional effects to the clip, and they'll be shown in here, and I can modify them in here. and then it adds the keyframes over here. And I can actually click on those keyframes and drag them around, and it will transition on the timeline as well. And I can also add effects in between the clips themselves. So that's done. Well, once again, we're in the editor. If I come down to where my project folder is, and I go to effects, and you'll see that there's all sorts of different types of effects. And we'll get into looking at presets and some of the Lumetri presets later. And then there's audio and video effects. And right now, what I want to do is use a video transition. So here's what I suggest you do. Get a couple of clips, put them on the timeline, and then try these different video transitions. So let's look at something really simple that I use a lot, and that's either a additive or cross dissolve, and it's a transition from one clip to another. And the idea is that all of these things make sense in the context of what you're editing. I'm going to grab that cross dissolve, I'm going to drag it and drop it onto my timeline. There's my cross dissolve, and you'll see that it's transitioning over time, and I can grab that and lengthen and shorten the cross dissolve, and then if I play it, you'll see there, instead of it cutting, it's dissolving from one to the other. Now, after I apply that cross dissolve, you'll see up here under effects, I can choose where it starts and ends on the art, on the timeline. And I can try other ones. Film dissolve, let's put that in between these two. Notice that the film dissolve, you see on both ends. And so there's your traditional film dissolve. And then once again, I can shorten and lengthen the time. And when I select the film dissolve, it shows me the A and B. I can choose to see the actual sources, and it's going to show me how that transition between the two clips is going to look. So I can apply all sorts of different types of effects like dissolves, non-additive dissolves. Let's go to the next section. I can do things like wipes and zooms. I'll grab a band wipe, drag it and place it on the next clip. And there's my band wipe. And I can select the clip, and then I can choose how it transitions between the two objects. And that's how I apply these effects. Now, whenever you get a little red bar on your timeline, that means that that section of the clip may need to be rendered before you can preview it. Okay, so what we did here was we put two clips on the timeline, and I showed you how to use the little razor to cut between the two clips and how to grab the selection tool and move the clips around on the timeline, and then how to do some simple transitions with opacity and how to apply a basic effect like a band wipe, a wipe, a dissolve, and we're looking at video transitions. And these are, there's a whole bunch there. You can just take two clips, put them on the timeline, try blending between the two clips. Now, in addition to that, you'll see down here on the bottom here that some of these clips have audio. Now, my audio was turned off, and what I can do is, so the audio is not playing for these clips, but I can always unlink the audio if I want to. So if I go to a clip, and you'll see that the clip has video and audio, if I want to unlink the audio, I just right-click, and I go up, and I choose the command unlink. And when I choose that unlink, I can delete. So it looks like the clip was already unlinked. I can right-click, I can go up, I choose unlink, and that will unlink the audio from the video. Then I can delete the audio track or the video track. So be careful with doing that. Under certain circumstances, it makes perfectly good sense. Under other circumstances, not so much. Okay, so what we did here is we looked at some effect controls, opacity, video effects, transitions. We'll work with the razor tool. I showed you how to link and unlink sound.